You're listening to Talk Amongst Yourself, the solo space where we pause, reflect, and get radically honest. I'm Kaylene. Today's episode is not an easy subject to talk about, so if I slip as I'm going through, please be kind to my mistakes. I'm going to talk about memory, caretaking, and the moments you realize you become the adult in the room. This episode isn't about advice, it's about grief and the quiet clarity of becoming the parent. This past Saturday was the visit that broke me. I visited my high school counselor, friend, and mentor a few days ago in a memory care center. Even though I was warned that she may not know my name, I still expected her to remember it. As we gazed at each other across the room, she lit up when she saw me, and she recognized me, but couldn't remember my name. What I didn't expect was how much I'd remember her, how much it would break me to see her go from knowing who I was by name, sharing her thoughts, walking on her own, to being frail, weak, in a wheelchair, and forgetting my name. She used to call me every single year for my birthday. She never forgot a year until about 4 or 5 years ago. It became a day or two late, then no call at all. This past weekend, it was devastating seeing someone who once guided me to now needing me, to now needing me to guide her through a conversation. The emotional whiplash of memory loss from dementia is a harsh reality that no one should have to experience. But yet, the research continues on, which I'm definitely grateful for. But honestly, it was the surreal moment of being recognized, but not known, that was hard for me to stomach. The grief of watching wisdom fade reminded me of a time that I went hiking with a friend, and we got caught in this rainstorm on the side of a mountain with a ton of trees. And I swear that storm came upon us like a freight train. We didn't even see it coming. All of a sudden it started downpouring and we just started running. We started running. I mean, anybody who knows when they go hiking and you're in trees, what usually comes with that type of rain and being in the mountains? Well, as we were running to get out of the trees, a bolt of lightning, accompanied by the loud sound of crashing thunder, hit a tree about 15 feet away from me. And I felt the earth shake beneath my feet. I haven't felt that since then, and I swear that's been like 20 years ago. But I will tell you, I felt it in my moment of clarity when I realized the strong, kick-ass woman I once knew was fading from my reach. It's been a long time since I've been in a memory unit. I used to work at a nursing home. Actually, it was my first real job I had right out of college. I guess I won't tell you how long ago it was. I don't know. We all know I'm old. My first real job was back in, I want to say 1995. And I was working at a nursing home when I got back from college. And I did what they called central supply. And in central supply, what you do is you deliver all the things that they need, from catheters to needles to diapers to wipes to everything that is needed by all the residents on certain wings. And I used to always go to the memory care wing all the time because that's where I had to do deliveries too. I did it to everyone, but that was my favorite one. And I remember there used to be this lady, her name was Margie, and she had the most amazing black and white pictures that I've ever seen. And she was stunning. She was stunning. And I don't know how old they were. They were probably from the 40s, 50s, maybe. I'm thinking 40s. I'm thinking way earlier, probably 40s and 30s. And she was absolutely stunning. But I used to like to go talk to her. She would tell me a lot about her past and things like that. And it reminded me of that. It reminded me of, this past weekend of being uh, with my friend reminded me of those days and what that was like for me as a kid. I was still a kid. I was in my 20s. I was still, you know, trying to find my way in the world. And it was an interesting time. And it was interesting being back in that type of environment where it's a locked unit, because most of the people in there are a danger to themselves. They will leave. They will get lost. They won't know where they're going. And that's why they're in a locked unit. But as I was sitting there and we were talking, I noticed that, you know, there were just tons of people just kind of walking around, and um, they would wave every once in a while. But the confusion was, I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain it. And I just remember that talking with my friend, I definitely was guiding the conversations. And, there was one time where she did say my name, and I can't remember exactly what context it was in, but she looked at my mom and she said something about, well, Kaylene, and I don't remember what we were talking about. But, she had these moments of clarity, and then she had these moments of not so much that were clarity. And she was eating, I guess they had made pumpkin pie uh, as one of their activities. And she had a piece of pumpkin pie in front of her, and she was offering it to me, of course, but I was trying to make sure that she was eating. And um, I looked at her and I'm like, I guarantee you that's not your pumpkin pie, is it? She was like, oh, hell no. She's like, no, it's definitely not my pumpkin pie. Like, it's not even pumpkin pie, really, is it? And it was kind of funny because it kind of wasn't. It was like the top layer was pumpkin pie. But anyway, we sat there for a while, and, I did notice my mom was kind of looking around like, she was just amazed at what was going on around her and the people walking around, and, everybody kind of looking a little lost. And she didn't say anything. She didn't say much. She hardly talked. She said hi to Sue. She hugged her as well. And the one thing I did before I left was I whispered in her ear, and I told my friend, thank you. Thank you for saving me. Thank you. I told her, you saved me so many times, I cannot count. And in that moment, she gazed at me, and she reached out and she touched my cheek and smiled. And I knew in that moment, she knew my name. She knew my name. And I meant every word of it. This woman walked me off the edge so many times through my life, from an adolescent to an adult. This one walked me off the edge. I am here because of her. I guarantee that. I promise that. This woman saved me so many times. And to be able to tell her that, and for her to look at me, and she knew exactly what I was saying. And while my insides are definitely twisted, I am now left with the thoughts of how excruciating this must be for her daughter, my friend, my sister, to be going through this. And I see you. I see you. And I see her. And I love her because I know she loves me. But it was quite a trip. And I just wanted to share that. And, you know, I can relate here to a certain extent because my own mother was diagnosed with early onset of dementia. Although she has not progressed nearly as fast, um, there are things that have definitely changed. As a matter of fact, she just turned 84 this past Saturday. And like I said, she was with me and went with me to see my friend. And during that time, I realized that I was learning how to celebrate my mother, but at the same time, I was also mourning what is already fading in her. There is definite role reversal that caretakers and children of people with dementia and Alzheimer's um, that we don't often talk about. I don't think I've ever heard any of my friends discuss it. I know that they have gone through it. I know that they have gone through some things where their parents have, had memory issues or completely didn't know who they were, but we've never truly sat down and had a deep, thought out conversation about it. Um, I have always been a very independent person from the time my soul entered my mother's body to now, always taking care of myself and her. I am not quite sure when our roles reversed and I became the parent, but it has definitely happened. My mom was always a person that I leaned on in some way, shape, or form. And now she is starting to lean on me. And it is an emotional labor when you must hold someone's history while they forget it. And that is, I would say, excruciating. And I think more so when it's a parent. And I can only speak for my mom because I didn't know my dad, but my mother, I've said this in the past, we love our mothers in a way that we love no one else on this planet, period. I love my mother to no end, and it didn't matter if she was the perfect mother. That didn't matter to me because she wasn't. I mean, are any of us? Some of us are worse than others. That's very true. And, I went through some stuff, but what I feel for my mom is deep, so deep that I cannot explain it. And I cannot imagine my world without her. And I know a lot of people who have lost their mothers. And I've watched my mom grieve her mom since 2006, and we are in 2025. And believe me, she still grieves her mother to this day. And I know that that is going to be something that I'm going to do, and my friends are going to do, and some have already done it, or some are doing it now. And, there's such a fine line between honoring them and protecting yourself as well. While I'm caring for her, I am also carrying the version of her that remembers me and all that we have been through. I noticed she remembers things very differently than I do. Um, Sometimes things in the past that I remember, it's like a totally different version from what she remembers. It's strange, but that is how it is. But when she talks about when she was a kid, though, man, you know that what she's saying is true. It's amazing. So you kind of get stories that you've never heard before. And I've learned a lot about my mom that I didn't know before. And these incredible, vivid stories that she remembers. It's pretty amazing. You know, one of the things that she's been going through, this has been for like probably a couple years now, is she remembers how to make meatloaf, but she can't remember what it's called. She never can. Like if I call her and I'll be like, "Hey, what did you make for dinner?" She'll say, "You know, that meat thing, that thing with the meat, you know, the hamburger." And I'll go, "Meatloaf?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, meatloaf." And she doesn't remember what she likes from most menus either. We could have pizza 3 days ago and she won't remember it. When it comes to menus, we'll go to like Chipotle, for example, and she will turn to me every single time. And she says, "What do I like? What did I order last time? Was it good?" And every single time that happens, she takes a little piece of my heart. However, I am fortunate that for now it's just her short-term memory and she still knows who I am every single day, even though she asks me what time I'm coming home every single day from work or if I'm going to work. Or she'll see me on the computer and ask me, "Are you working from home?" Of course I'm working from home. It's kind of funny, but it's an everyday thing. She may not remember what meatloaf is called, but let me tell you, she can still cook the hell out of it. And most of the time it's pretty good. Sometimes it comes out salty, but whatever. We eat it anyway. We eat it anyway. This subject, it's really hard. And I think it's hard for many of us out there that are caring for our parents, many of us out there that our parents have Alzheimer's or our parents are experiencing short-term memory issues and watching them change. Um, I don't think I ever realized that this is where I was going to be. This is how I was going to feel. And, watching this generation slowly die out it's a wake up call, because when that generation is gone, that means my generation's next. So the reality of that is quite shocking, to say the least, to know that someday we could be in their shoes. Even now, I mean, I'm in my 50s and I swear to God, there are things that I don't remember, um, even a week ago, let alone yesterday. And sometimes I lose my keys and I drop stupid stuff. And um, I can't imagine the fear that they feel because they know that this is happening to them, but it's hard to reconcile. If you haven't been through it, I can't explain that, but I know some of you can relate and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's hard. It's so hard because, I have 4 older siblings and I feel like I'm the only one who's really dealing with it because my mom lives with me and most of the time they're nowhere to be found. They're out there living their own lives and they act like they live, on the other side of the world, but it's it's going to be, I think it's going to be hard on them more so than me at some point because they're going to show up one day and she is not going to know who they are, but she's still going to know who I am. And I think that's going to be an interesting happening. But For 84, my mother's doing well. I mean, she doesn't walk with a walker. She's still walking. She's still continent. She's still doing her thing. I mean, I do have to get on her sometimes about showers because sometimes I'll look at her and she'll still be wearing the same clothes that she's been wearing for the last 3 days. And I have to remind her, hey, mom, you got to go take a shower. Or, I try to say it in a way that isn't condescending or rude or mean. I remember in the beginning when I first started realizing she was changing, it was hard for me because I would get angry because I'm like, why can't you just remember? And that was the hardest part. The hardest part was adjusting to her and where she's at, which is something that you have to do because arguing with them is not going to do you any good. You can argue till you're blue in the face. You can know that something is red, but to them it's yellow and it will always be yellow and you will never win that argument. And I think that was really hard to get through. And some days I'm not through it. Some days I slide back and I want to argue and I want to fight. But in the long run, I have learned that you've got to let them win because how does that hurt you? It doesn't. It doesn't. I think the arguing and that hurts you more. So you've kind of got to go to their level. And I don't know. A lot of people say maybe they're at a soul level. Maybe they're seeing something we don't know. Maybe they know something we don't know. But I can definitely relate to my friend. And, I feel like this is a double whammy because these are two women that I care about a lot. And knowing that they're both going through things at the same time, but at different stages is tough. It's tough and it's going to continue to be tough. And it's always funny how we tend to think of ourselves as, I don't know, it's not the word of something more. We tend to be in denial. I think it's denial because I was in denial that she wasn't going to know my name. I was like, nah, she's going to know my name. She'll know. She didn't know. There were moments of clarity where she did know. And I can tell you, um, the day that my mom doesn't remember my name, I am going to lose it. I can guarantee it. Anyway, I didn't know how deep this episode was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. This is actually my second run through it. Um, because the first time I did it, I rushed through it. It was done in I swear to God, it was 8 minutes. I looked up and it was 8 minutes. I ran through it so quickly because when I am in a vulnerable spot, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, I tend to run. I tend to get running shoes on and I'm out of there. It's very hard for me to stay in a vulnerable spot. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. That's what it's been about for me. Whether or not you like it or not, it's my own vulnerability and being able to sit with myself and listen to myself. I'm not doing this for the likes. I'm not doing this for monetary gain. I'm not doing this for anything else but my own therapy. It's kind of like therapy for me. I mean, I am in therapy, but this is kind of like my own separate therapy, like Kaylene time therapy. And it doesn't matter to me. Like if I can touch one person, if even only one person's listening and I can touch them, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. But I want to touch on subjects that are real and subjects that people go through, subjects that I have experience in, subjects that I have researched or listened to, or, my opinions, whatever. But this has been probably the toughest one I've done yet. So I just want you to know, if you're caring for someone who once cared for you, you're not alone. If you've ever felt like the adult in a room, especially in a place with someone that used to hold your childhood, you're not weak. If you've ever mourned someone who is still here, You're just loving someone through the slow unraveling of their memory. And that love is sacred. You seriously need to hold on to that love. And you've got to show them love no matter what. No matter what, even when it's hard, even when they don't know who you are, you still tell them you love them. You still show them you love them by showing up. You may not be able to be there every day, but show up. I'll be back next Sunday or Monday, who knows? I'm trying to get some regular cadence. It should be Sunday, but things have been crazy, as you know, within this world. And in my own world, it has been crazy. I've taken on a lot of work. So I've been in the trenches getting things done. But like I said, I'll be back next Sunday. So until then, stay soft, stay brave, and stay grounded. I cannot stress that any more than I do. And keep talking amongst yourself.